The eviction notice was a flimsy piece of paper, but it carried the weight of the world. Emily stared at the faded ink, her heart heavy in her chest. She had fought so hard to keep their heads above water, but the currents of misfortune were relentless. Jack, her 8-year-old son, sat on the floor, his toys scattered around him like fallen dreams. He didn't understand the gravity of the situation, but he felt the tremors of his mother's anxiety. Emily knew they had to leave. The city held nothing but bitter memories and the ghosts of broken promises. Newspapers spoke of a mass exodus from the urban sprawls, people fleeing to rural communities in search of a simpler life. It seemed desperate, a gamble, but what choice did she have? She gathered their meager belongings, each item a painful reminder of better days. A chipped porcelain doll, a gift from Jack's father before he vanished into the economic wasteland. A framed photograph of her parents, their smiles frozen in time, oblivious to the storm that would engulf their daughter's future. Each object held a story, a whisper of what was and what might have been. As they drove away in their battered car, the city skyline shrinking in the rearview mirror, Emily clung to a sliver of hope. Maybe, just maybe, in the quiet corners of a forgotten town, they could find peace, a chance to rebuild their shattered lives. The highway stretched before them, a ribbon of cracked asphalt winding through a landscape scarred by economic despair. Boarded-up factories loomed like skeletal giants, grim reminders of a prosperous past. Once bustling towns stood desolate, their empty streets echoing with the ghosts of broken dreams. America, the land of opportunity, had become a land of shadows and whispers. The rural town of Hollow Creek seemed untouched by the decay that gnawed at the nation's heart. Nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering cornfields, it exuded an air of timeless tranquility. The houses, mostly Victorian-era structures with ornate gables and sprawling porches, whispered tales of bygone days. It felt like stepping back in time, a refuge from the harsh realities of the outside world. Emily found a rundown motel on the outskirts of town. The neon sign flickered, its message of vacancy more of a plea than a promise. It wasn't much, but it was shelter, a temporary haven from the storm. As Jack explored their cramped room, his eyes wide with a mixture of apprehension and childish curiosity, Emily couldn't shake off the feeling that they had stumbled into a place of secrets, a town where the past refused to die. The job listing in the local newspaper felt like a lifeline. Caldwell Financial Services, a name whispered with a mix of reverence and apprehension in Hollow Creek, was seeking an administrative assistant. Emily, with her sharp mind and even sharper desperation, decided to try her luck. The Caldwell building stood apart from the quaint charm of the town. A stark, modern structure of glass and steel, it seemed to mock the weathered brick and faded grandeur of its neighbors. The opulence of the lobby, with its marble floors and crystal chandeliers, felt like a slap in the face to Emily, a constant reminder of the chasm that separated her from the town's elite. Mr. Caldwell, a man whose age was as indeterminate as his motives, offered her the job with a smile that never reached his cold, calculating eyes. He spoke of her skills, her potential, but Emily saw through the facade. He needed someone discreet, someone desperate enough to turn a blind eye. She accepted, her gut screaming at her to run, but her need to provide for Jack outweighing her instincts. As she navigated the labyrinthine corridors of Caldwell Financial, Emily couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. The hushed whispers of her colleagues, the furtive glances exchanged in the hallways, the air itself seemed thick with unspoken truths and carefully guarded secrets. The old Victorian house on the edge of town seemed to call to Emily. It was a grand old dame, its faded elegance hinting at a glorious past. The real estate agent, a nervous man with a quick smile and shifty eyes, assured her the price was more than reasonable. "Needs a bit of love is all," he'd said, his voice a touch too high, a touch too eager. The house embraced them with the scent of dust and forgotten memories. Shadows danced in the corners, cast by the waning light filtering through grimy windows. Jack, ever the adventurer, was captivated. He raced through the rooms, his laughter echoing in the cavernous space, momentarily chasing away the lingering gloom. But at night, as Emily lay listening to the wind whistling through the eaves, she couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. Floorboards creaked beneath unseen footsteps. Whispers slithered from the walls, too faint to decipher, yet heavy with unspoken sorrow. She dismissed it as her imagination, the anxieties of a single mother grappling with an uncertain future. But deep down, a primal fear began to take root. The house held secrets, she was sure of it. Dark, terrible secrets that whispered her name.